Biohabitats, and I'm here today with Ian Mansfield with Millstone Cellars in Baltimore, or outside of Baltimore, Maryland. And we're here today to enjoy some local cider.
Cheers.
Cheers, and talk a little bit about pollinators. And you are a cellar master?
I am, yes.
So what does that entail?
So I help make a lot of the cider. I tend to all our barrels. I help bring the juice in. I help inoculate yeast. I help the blending of making the cider with Kurt, the owner. I bottle. I talk to distributors and do the production. So I'm basically behind the scenes.
It would seem that we wouldn't have that much in common since I'm a landscape planner and designer. But in fact, we do. Pollinators are pretty
absolutely
important to both of our work. And I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about how pollinators really provide support in the making of cider.
Apples are our biggest product. We need pollinators to pollinate the apple tree blossoms. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to have as many apples as we do. In addition to that, a lot of our ciders, we feature different fruits and herbs and spices as well. So we've used peach, we've used blueberries, plum, apricots, nectarines. We also use native plants as well, so spice bush. We use hops. In addition to the ciders we also make ciders and meads. So ciders is a blend of honey with cider, and then meads are straight honey wine as well. So we depend very heavily on the pollinators themselves.
Right, and that would be anything from bees to butterflies.
Bees, butterflies, bats, carpenter bees, hummingbirds. I mean, you name it, it's almost a pollinator that flies around.
Well, it's interesting that you should say that because I think 90% of plants around the world are flowering plants, and 85%, which is amazing to think about how big that is, are plants that require pollinators. So it's a huge number. Did you know that?
It's a massive. I didn't realize it's that number.
One wouldn't think that we would have a lot in common. You here working in the cellar and the production of the cider, and me working on landscape planning at various scales with a campus or parks and design, but we both rely on the pollinators to make our work actually happen. So in my case, it's very important to have the pollinators to feed the plants that are making up the landscape. Most people have heard of the farm-to-table movement.
Right.
Are you active with that movement here in Baltimore?
We like to obviously be as local as possible. We source all our ingredients with 150 miles from this location here. So we're big on trying to promote local vendors, local producers as well. So it's been really neat to see how the restaurants and the chefs are trying to work with the local value-added products like us to try to bring them and promote them, and in addition we're promoting them as well.
And related to that, there's this newer concept of roof to restaurant,
Okay.
or roof to table. Have you been familiar with that?
Not
or-
really, I've heard of it, but I haven't read too much into it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Here, actually in Baltimore, some of the chefs are starting to develop green roofs on their restaurants or small garden plots near the restaurants, but a lot of these are green roofs where they're able to go out and clippings of various herbs for mixed drinks or other
Neat.
fresh things that they can just have that really fresh, vital flavor and add it to the meals that they're serving. And what's great is that creating that green roof or that small garden in the urban context is creating a new area of habitat that wasn't there before, and is inviting those pollinators in, which is helping a lot with the work that we're doing when we're trying to look at ways of improving ecosystem services, or sort of the ecological function of what we think of as this really overdeveloped landscape that's mostly buildings, and now we have this extra layer of habitat and this added bonus of relating back to produce, back to local foods and local restaurants. So it's pretty exciting.
It is
It's kind of
exciting.
neat to see all the connections that we have between the work that we're doing to develop that functionality in the city and the work that restaurateurs and folks like you are doing to really improve our local systems and feed on what is right here with us.
Right, and a lot of people don't understand that. They can go within half an hour from Baltimore City, they can get their meat, cheese, eggs, cider, and a lot of people aren't aware of that.
Yeah, well, cheers to that, and thanks for doing your work.
Of course.